So the narcissist is no longer with you and they have a new supply. And this person appears to be a bottom feeder supply. And what I mean by that is somebody who is sort of on the same plane as the narcissist, somebody who possibly engages in drugs or alcohol abuse, or somebody who has maybe slept around with a lot of people. They sort of live like a trashy lifestyle, and this is the narcissist's new supply. And this is actually something that I have seen a lot of in my support group and have heard a lot of survivors of narcissistic abuse talk about how the narcissist's new supply appears to be a downgrade. And I want to talk about like what exactly is going on. What we think is a downgrade doesn't mean the narcissist thinks that that's a downgrade. We're basing that on our opinion of them as a person. But the narcissist bases the value of the supply on what they can do for the narcissist, not what kind of person the new supply is. So if the new supply, has a lot of sexual partners and maybe sleeps around, even cheats on the narcissist doesn't really care. As long as they still get that main supply that they want from the supply. So, for example, my ex used people for a place to stay. That was his like number one thing that he wanted from a supply source, was essentially a roof over his head. Without using somebody to provide him a place to stay, he was essentially homeless. So he would go from place to place, and he would use guys as like friendship supply that let him stay in their house and things like that as well. So that's all my ex cared about. I mean, that was number one that he cared about. And of course, attention, compliments, sympathy, all that stuff, because he was a covert narcissist. So as long as the narcissist is getting that, he doesn't care if his girlfriend is like cheating on him, doing drugs, doing whatever. He doesn't care. It's like, okay, as long as you're going to compliment me, give me a place to stay, have sympathy when I need it, give me sex, whatever it is that your narcissist is specifically after, that is how they deem a person good or bad, based on the supply that they're able to provide for them. So we might look at a supply and think like, wow, this person is like really trashy, or like a bottom feeder type person, or somebody who, is in and out of prison, somebody who's on drugs, somebody who cheats or sleeps around, or whatever the case may be. And we're like, why is the narcissist with this kind of person? And we always compare ourselves to the new supply because, it's just human nature. We want to still feel like we're better than the person that they're currently with. And if you're like maybe watching the narcissist and the new supply, and let's be honest, sometimes we can't help it, especially if we're in the early stages of recovery, we're watching their social media, we're asking mutual friends, like, have they met the new supply? What, give us all the details about them, because we're just curious. And we're asking because we want to know that they're not better than us. We don't want to feel like we've been dumped or they traded up, and it just makes us feel like crappier about ourselves. So it's like you kind of want that, just that reassurance that, they didn't move on to someone better. And then also you kind of want that, when you kind of shift into like the revenge stage, where I was definitely stuck in for like a very long time, where it was like you want karma to happen to the narcissist, and you're like almost wanting them to be outed and like wanting bad things to happen to them because of all the shit that they've done to you and everyone else. When you find out that they're with somebody who is kind of like a crappy supply, it kind of makes you feel good. You're kind of like, wow, okay, this person is like complete trash. And it does make you feel better about yourself. Like, wow, they really downgraded. And it happens all the time. All the time I see in my support group where survivors say that the new supply is a complete downgrade and totally different from them. Perhaps you are somebody who doesn't do drugs and you're like normal, you have a job, if you have children, it's like you're a normal parent, you take care of your child. You're just doing like normal things. You're not sleeping around. You're not cheating on your partner. You're not in and out of prison and just living this bottom feeder lifestyle. And the narcissist new supply is literally the complete opposite of you. And it's just really confusing because you don't understand, like, what does this crappy person bring to the table that I didn't bring to the table? What is this person giving the narcissist that I was not able to give the narcissist? Because you tell yourself, like, this person is, living a crappy existence. So how is this person like, wow, this is the new person? This is the person that perhaps the narcissist dumped you for? And it feels like a slap in the face because you don't understand, like, why they would choose somebody so shitty. But that's just how you or me would see this person. We might see this person as crappy because of how they live, their lifestyle. But again, the narcissist doesn't judge people on that. I looked at my ex's new supply and I was like, what the hell is going on here? She's basically the exact opposite of me. And it's also really confusing too, because when you were with the narcissist, they told you that you were everything that they wanted. You were their dream girl. You're the one that they were so in love with and so attracted to. And so when they're with somebody who is literally nothing like you, you're like, wait a minute. How could this be? Because he said that I was everything that he was attracted to, and I was the dream girl, and I was the one who had all these amazing qualities, and this new person is literally nothing like me, so then it doesn't really make sense that he would be with her. But again, everything that a narcissist does is self-serving. They're not with this person because they give a shit about them or they care about them or they're captivated by them. They're with this person because this person is probably supporting them. This person is turning a blind eye to their fuckery and all of the stuff that they do, all of their narcissistic antics. This person is being a doormat. This person is providing something for the narcissist, or the narcissist wouldn't be with them. So even if this person appears to be a crappy supply on paper, they're still providing something to the narcissist because, narcissists don't waste their time if they're not getting something out of it. So when me and my ex were together, he sat there and told me, I don't smoke cigarettes. I have asthma. So if I tried to smoke, I would probably be dead in a corner somewhere. And so I didn't smoke and he didn't smoke either. And we had neighbors who smoked and he had been around a lot of smokers and he always complained about it. He was always like, I love that you're a non-smoker because honestly, it would be a deal breaker. He said he could not be in a relationship with somebody who was a smoker because he just couldn't stand the smell. And it would like gag him. And this is something he said throughout our relationship all the time. Every time we passed a smoker, he was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that you don't smoke. Like, that's disgusting. I didn't do drugs. I don't have any children. And I certainly didn't sleep around. I lost my virginity to my ex, who was the narcissist. And I've talked about that in other videos. And he always talked about that he liked those qualities about me. He liked that I wasn't a skank. He's like, no guy wants to be with a girl who's like, going around town, doing all this stuff, whatever. So he told me all the time throughout the relationship that I had all of these qualities and, just all of these things about me that he just loved and that were just perfect for him. And that, he couldn't imagine being with anybody who didn't have these qualities. So cut to, I break up with him. He immediately replaces me. Like literally within like 2 days, he's in a full-blown relationship with the new supply. So clearly the new supply was there like for quite some time without me knowing. So he gets with the new supply and he completely lied to me about everything about her. He told me that, they met at a friend's barbecue and that she had a house, that she was a homeowner, and that she had a black SUV. Like he talked about her vehicle. And and said she had 2 children and said she had custody. And, he just was telling me about her and really making her sound like this amazing person. Of course, he didn't tell me she smoked or anything like that. So he's telling me all of these great things, and he's acting like he's so happy, and he just wants to be friends with me, and he wants to make amends because he knows he was a dick, and he did a lot of really messed up things to me, and he just wants to be friends with me. And so he's describing his amazing new relationship and his amazing new girlfriend. Well, I come to find out every single thing he told me about her was a complete lie. She didn't have 2 kids. She had 3 kids. They met in rehab. She's actually a drug addict. They never met at a friend's barbecue. She did not have a house. She was actually living in an attic bedroom at some friend's house of hers that she was like renting their attic to live in. She didn't have custody of any of her kids. She had lost custody. All of her children had a different father. And she smoked cigarettes. I mean, every single thing about her was the complete opposite of me. Everything he said, I don't like smokers. I don't like girls that do this. I don't like girls that do that. He even told me one time that, we were like watching a show, and he said that he didn't agree with races, dating outside of their race. And he said, and this is something we actually had a fight over because it really pissed me off. And he said, if I ever found out that you dated a black guy, I would dump you. I wouldn't be with you. And I got really pissed off about it. And I was just like, wow, like, why? First of all, why would it matter who I ever dated before you? And, I'm with you now. And that's such a ridiculous, like, just because somebody was black, that's a reason to dump, your current partner because they dated outside of their race. Like, that's absurd. And I just thought, like, wow, like, you're kind of a piece of shit right now, like, to even say that. And, like, that's a really weird, random statement. And it was so random. And it was just really weird. And it was just weird because he knew that I had never been with anybody before him. So it was like weird that he made that statement to me. So I don't really know. But I mean, I think probably because he was already talking to this new supply. And anyway, it turns out that one of her children is biracial. So, he's telling me like, oh, if you ever dated a black guy, I would dump you. But his new supply has a child with a black gentleman. So it doesn't really make any sense. They will lie to you. They will tell you anything. I think that they go out of their way to say things. Like, I think he was already talking to the new supply and he knew that she had a biracial child. And that's why he told me, like, oh, yeah, I would never be interested in a girl that dated a black guy, to sort of throw me off so that I would never suspect he was messing around with this girl, because obviously she had been with, a black guy at some point because she had a biracial child. And so I think he said these kinds of things to throw me off. And again, the same with the smoking. Oh, I would never date a smoker. And then she smokes. So I think a lot of times when the narcissist is telling us like, oh, I love this about you and I love that about you, and I would never date a girl who did this and I would never date a girl who did that, it's because they already have a new supply lined up and the new supply is doing this or that. And so they lie and tell you the opposite so that you don't really get suspicious that they're doing anything. And also he did this when he cheated on me. He slept with his friend's girlfriend and he talked so much crap about this girl. He talked about she was annoying. He thought she was a bitch. He didn't understand why his friend was dating her. Nobody liked her. None of their friends liked her. They kept trying to convince this guy to break up with her. She was trash. He talked about her looks and said that, she wasn't attractive and whatever. I mean, he just went on about this girl. So it never occurred to me that he had cheated on me with her, ever. And then, of course, lo and behold, he totally banged her and completely cheated on me and had unprotected sex with her, by the way. So this is something that narcissists do. So a lot of times when they're telling us throughout the relationship that I don't like girls who do this, I don't like girls who wear makeup, I don't like girls who are fat, I don't like girls who are skinny, I don't like redheads, I don't like this, they're just pulling shit out their ass. They're saying whatever because probably the new supply is all of those things. And they're trying to throw you off. So a lot of times when we see the new supply and we think, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense that they're with this person, we only think that because we're basing that off what the narcissist told us. They wanted us to think that they would never mess around with this kind of person. It was set up that way. I mean, that's why they tell us that, to throw us off and keep us in the dark. So I think that's something common. I mean, certainly my ex did that with me multiple times about multiple girls. And lo and behold, He's sitting here telling me that basically I have all these qualities that he wants in a girl, and then he would never want a girl that had these qualities. And then his new supply has all of these supposed negative qualities that he said he was never attracted to. Narcissists also like people that sort of roll around in the gutter just like them. Narcissists are trashy people. They're liars. They're con artists. They're cheaters. They're disgusting, pathological people. They're in and out of prison. They're always committing crimes. They're stealing from people. They're just lowlives. They're deadbeat fathers. They're just complete pieces of shit. And so if they get with somebody who's on the same plane as them and like a female version or a male version, depending on, who your narcissist is. I always speak from, my perspective being a girl that dated a guy narcissist, but, whatever. And so a lot of times they get with a new supply that's kind of like on the same level as them as far as like bottom feeder type, personalities, because I think a lot of times narcissists, like, they know that they're shitty human beings. They know that they're lying and stealing and cheating, and they're aware of everything that they do. And I think when they're with good people who don't do those things, it makes them even feel worse. They feel like shit about themselves. When I was with my ex, he was doing drugs and cheating and lying and stealing and just doing crazy stuff. And I didn't do any of those things. And I think it always made him feel bad about himself. Like, I think that whenever he was around me, he just felt like shit. And he even admitted this to me at one point. And it made him feel like shit. And it made him feel like he was trash and his family was trash because me and my family were so different. And it just made him feel negative about himself. So I think if they get with somebody who's on the same level, they don't have to feel negative. They don't have to feel like a bad person. Like, he's a deadbeat dad. So, he gets with a girl who lost custody of all of her children and chose drugs and, over her kids. And my ex is doing drugs. I didn't do drugs. So he felt like shit when he's sitting there doing heroin because, I was bitching at him about it and telling him, go to rehab, get your life together. Well, his new supply, if she's sitting there doing drugs, he doesn't have to feel bad about doing drugs because she's doing the drugs too. She's being a crappy parent too. So he doesn't have to feel like a deadbeat. Sometimes they get with people who are equally shitty and do these like kind of crappy things to people, and are bad parents and all of that, because narcissists don't like to feel bad about themselves. And if they get with somebody that they feel is as shitty as them or even shittier, they like that situation too, because then they can sort of make the new supply feel like crap about herself. They can say, oh, you're a bad mom, or you're a junkie, or you're this, or you're that. And they could sort of throw these insults at the new supply and make her feel like shit about herself because she's sort of not making these good life decisions either. And he could throw those life decisions in her face and make her feel like shit about herself. And we all know that narcissists love to make people feel like shit about themselves. So there are several reasons for why they would get with what we deem a crappy supply, a downgraded supply, a bottom feeder supply. It just suits them. I mean, they don't do anything that doesn't suit them. So there's a reason they're with this person. Even if this person is on drugs and doing these things that are not, they're not acting like normal people in society, or, they're acting way different than you were. The narcissist is still with them because the supply is providing something. So even if they're like this, bottom feeder, they're probably still giving the narcissist a place to live. They're probably paying the narcissist bills. They're probably giving the narcissist sex on demand. They're probably giving the narcissist tons of compliments, calling them handsome, calling them beautiful, whatever the case may be, making the narcissist feel good about themselves. Perhaps they're providing the narcissist with drugs. That's another perk to dating a bottom feeder type supply. They can get drugs from the supply. So there's a reason that the narcissist is with her or him, and they're providing something to the narcissist. So they are getting something out of this. And just because we think they're a crappy supply doesn't really mean they are to the narcissist, because, they look for different qualities. They don't look for just somebody who's a good person, because we've seen them time and time again get with supplies who aren't good people. And you're kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on? So, I went through this situation myself, and I didn't really understand why this was the new supply he chose. Well, also another reason I think is because this was like in my case. If you break up with the narcissist, it kind of like throws them off kilter because they usually aren't expecting that. They like to be the one to break up with you and replace you immediately with a new person just to make you feel like shit about yourself. So he wasn't expecting, I don't think, the breakup when it happened. And he really had like nowhere to go. He was homeless. So when I broke up with my ex, he was living on the streets for like 2 weeks until he went to rehab. And he only went to rehab to have a place to live, literally. And then that's when he hooked up with the new supply. So, anyways, if you break up with the narcissist and it's unexpected and they're not prepared for it and they don't have a new supply waiting, to take your place, they kind of get with whoever. So, a lot of times that's why you'll see the quote downgrade or the bottom feeder supply because they had to scramble. And, beggars can't be choosers, like they always say. So if, of course they want grade A supply. I mean, of course they would rather have somebody who, had a really good job and had a lot of money and had a really nice place to live and a really nice vehicle. But if they have to settle for somebody who is like a drug addict with no vehicle and, living in someone's basement or doing whatever, I mean, they'll take that because it's still somebody. It's still somebody to use until they can get something better. So that's another reason that they'll get with a bottom feeder type supply is that they had to scramble. They didn't really have anything lined up that was better. I mean, we always know the narcissist is always looking for the best deal. They're always looking for something better, something more, but they'll take whatever they can get. And if this is all the narcissist can get, and he had to think fast and he had to scramble, and this person is kind of making themselves available to the narcissist or throwing themselves at the narcissist, they're going to take it because it's like, okay, well, this person is, going to tolerate my shit. And also a bottom feeder type supply isn't really going to have expectations from the narcissist as far as they're not going to demand that the narcissist be a better person, like perhaps you or I would. I was always pressuring my ex to get off drugs and to be an involved father, to be in his children's lives, to be in his family's life, to be a better human being. And when they get with a bottom feeder supply who's doing drugs right along with the narcissist and who's sleeping around and who's being a crappy parent or a deadbeat parent or somebody who doesn't have custody of their children, that person isn't going to demand greatness from the narcissist. They're not going to demand that the narcissist change or, be a better person. They're not going to have like, not necessarily rules, but just sort of, future goals for the narcissist. I was always thinking, I want you to be better. I want you to do better. I want you to get off drugs. I want you to be an involved father. I want you to get your life together. I genuinely wanted those things for him and was trying to help him any way that I could. A bottom feeder supply isn't really going to do that because they're in the same boat as the narcissist. They're content with just laying around doing drugs and being shitty parents. So the narcissist loves that because they don't have to have expectations put on them to be a better person, to be better in general. They can just be their crappy selves and be accepted as they are. And, narcissists don't want to change. They don't want to get better or improve. No, they don't want to do any of that. They'll lie about it and say that they're doing those things, but they don't really want to do those things. So that's sort of another perk of being with a bottom feeder type supply. So perhaps you are in the same boat as me, or in that kind of situation where the new supply appears to be like the exact opposite of you and appears to be kind of a lot like the narcissist, and you're really confused. Because I know I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Of course, in the beginning, he lied to me about everything about her, so I didn't know that she was a lot like my ex. I thought she was like this wonderful, great person who appeared to have her life together. And then, he's telling me she has this SUV. It turned out she didn't have a car. She didn't have any vehicle at all. She was taking the city bus, literally. And, somebody actually saw him and her standing at the bus stop waiting to get on the bus together. And, she was really a drug addict and all that. So, I mean, he lied about everything about her. And it was because he knew that he would look like an idiot if he told me, like, yeah, this is my new girlfriend. She's on drugs. She's a deadbeat mom. Yeah, it's great. She's living in some guy's attic. He wanted her to be way better than me. He wanted me to think that he upgraded and I'm trash and to make me feel like shit about myself. So first of all, if the narcissist is even trying to rub this new supply in your face and they're telling you how great she is, they're probably lying. The new supply probably isn't the wonderful person that they're saying she is, because you have to remember, if it's coming from the narcissist, it's probably a lie, because if their lips are moving, the narcissist is lying. That's all they do is lie. So don't get hung up thinking the new supply is better than you, because they're probably really like a bottom feeder type supply, and you just like don't know because they're trying to hide it because they're embarrassed of their new supply. They had to take whatever they could get and they're embarrassed, so they try to make them sound way better than what they are. So if you're in a situation where you're having to watch the narcissist move on with this person who appears to just be crap, and then, you're feeling shittier about yourself, like, wow, they think this person is better than me. Like, they would rather be with this person than me. Like, this doesn't make sense. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel like shit about it. They just had to take what they could get. And this just means that you were starting to have boundaries for the narcissist. You weren't willing to turn a blind eye to their crap anymore. You were telling them no. You caught them cheating, caught them lying. Perhaps you dumped the narcissist. But even if they discarded you, it's just because they knew they couldn't bullshit you anymore. They knew that you were you were onto their games. They couldn't pull the wool over your eyes anymore. So they had to get rid of you. They had to get rid of you because they can't manipulate you anymore. Well, okay, this person's finding out my lies and finding out about me cheating, and they're questioning me, and they're, telling me no, and they're not being the doormat anymore. Fuck this. I'm out of here. The narcissist is not going to stay with somebody who is telling them no or giving them rules. So they had to discard you. And then they replaced you with a bottom feeder who isn't going to give rules to the narcissist. The bottom feeder is not going to tell the narcissist no. The bottom feeder is going to lay around and do drugs and get high and do all these, low life behaviors with the narcissist. So that's perfect for the narcissist. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys if you were wondering what the hell is going on with this low life new supply in the narcissist life. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.